Hey guys, John here again with Hometown Auto Repair. We got ourselves a 2003 Honda CR-V sitting here, and the car, when you start it up, the idle just goes wrong, wrong, wrong. It goes up and down like a really bad surge. Let me get in the car, confirm the complaint. I'll show you on camera real quick, and then we'll go from there. See the idle surging. I mean, it's just going wah, wah, wah. Okay, so we've confirmed the complaint. I've already scanned it for codes, and I'll take you over to my computer and show you the codes that came out of it. It had quite a few codes, but the one I'm most concerned about is this one, the P1505 idle air control system. I mean, this vehicle has a few miles on it. You know, it's a rough old bird. So we're just gonna try to get it to run well. We're not gonna fix every single code on this. And so I went to the code description. Idle air control actuator, OEM testing. And here, it kind of gives you some test procedures, and but what interested me is it said to put your finger on the lower port of the idle air control body. When you take off the breather, there's a port right here is where the idle air goes in for the engine to breathe, and it basically says, does the engine stall? Yes. Replace the IAC valve. Well, let's try that and see what happens. I don't know if you can see it, but right where I'm pointing my screwdriver, right there, that little cavity is where the idle air control valve air goes into, and underneath right here is your idle air control valve. So let's do what the directions say. They say if you put your finger over it and it stalls. When I put my finger over this IAC cavity in the throttle body, the idle actually smooths right out. This is a good indication. It tells me the IAC is bad. Well, as you can see, when I put my finger over that idle air control valve, the idle straightened right up. I wish I would have filmed this yesterday, but I did check the powers and the grounds and the control of the idle air control valve, and they were all there. And so there's 3 wires that go to the idle air control valve. There's a power wire, and there's a ground wire, and then there's something called a control wire, where the computer basically pulses the voltage on and off to control the motor at what angle it wants it. And I had all of those across the board. So obviously this idle air control valve is malfunctioning. We are going to put one in it and fix this car and move on to the next code. Oh yeah, there's one thing I did forget to tell you, and I didn't show this on camera either, and I apologize, but I did smoke test this intake manifold, and there was no leaks whatsoever. I got a idle air control valve on the way. In the meantime, we'll take this one off. Put a plug in your line so you don't spill coolant everywhere. Alright, this is what we're taking off. Really rusted. Come on. You super busy. got everything hooked back up. The IAC valves back on. All the connections are made, and it says here in shop info we have to do an idle relearn. So it basically says make sure all electrical connections or all electrical items are off, like audio, windows, defogger, and start the engine and hold 3,000 RPMs with no load until it's 194 degrees. Let the engine idle for 5 minutes with the throttle closed. All right, I started it up, and like I said, it wants me to run the engine at about 3,000 RPM until this gets to 194, where the fans cycle on and off on the engine. And then I have to idle it for 5 minutes, and that is the idle relearn procedure for Honda. All right, that fixed it. It's running smooth. There is an issue though. This car, and I didn't catch this on video, and I'm sorry and I apologize, but it overheated, and that concerns me. But when I did take the throttle body off, I took a couple coolant lines loose on the throttle body. So I don't know if I have an air pocket in here in the system or not. I'm going to put a vacuum gauge on it, vac fill it, the coolant into the radiator, just to make sure, and then I'm going to let it idle again and do its idle relearn. Hopefully that's it. This car's got several issues. I'm not diving into every one until I call and get an approval, but I at least got to see if the overheat condition was my fault. So I'll show that real quick, and we'll end this video here really soon. I try to make them pretty short. Y'all got things to do, you know? All right, let's start it up, see if it overheats. All right, I'm gonna hold the throttle at 3,000 RPM so we don't have to wait so long.
Yes.
Okay, it's at 3,000. I'll let it run a minute. Turn the camera back on. All right, that's what it was. I just needed some coolant. It's not overheating. It's been running for about 10 minutes. And I'm gonna take it for a test drive. It's idling a whole lot better. The idle air control valve was definitely the fix on this one. So I'm gonna give this thing a little test drive and see how it does. And make sure nothing else is going on. Like I said, this guy just wants to get it running. He's not trying to put a lot of money in it. I get that a lot. They're like, oh, just get it running. And I like to fix everything, but sometimes it does get too expensive for people. I like things to be perfect. So I really appreciate you guys watching, and I'm gonna be trying to put at least one video a week on from now on. So if you stick with me, I'm gonna do my best to edit them, make them quick, make them easy to understand. And if you're working on your own vehicle or something, and this will help tremendously. I know I look at YouTube videos a lot of times to help me, and even though I have access to shop information from the OEM that I pay for, there's still times where I look up. I mean, everybody does it. You'd be stupid not to. Whatever's the quickest, most efficient way. If somebody's been there before and they can tell you something you didn't know, then that's great. But hey, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.